Hi and welcome to class today. So today we are going to discover the strength in your core in an upside down pose. That is a headstand in a traditional way. So you are going to do headstand with your hands interlacing like this and behind your head. So this headstand. We have been doing the tripod headstand and it's step by step with your knee putting on your arm. But now in this headstand, you will not put your knee into your arms. So you have to rely on your belly, your core muscles, your core strength to lift your leg up. You're going to need a wall and 2 blocks and maybe a pillow or blanket so that you can support your head and your arms with. And notice that don't use something that is too slippery or you may lose your balance. So let's start on the floor, laying with your head facing toward the wall and laying on the floor. At first, let's bend your knees and keep your back on the ground. You can check by trying to push your hands in underneath your low back and make sure that you cannot do that. So make sure that your spine is pressing down to the floor. There's no gap between your spine and the floor. And you can put your hands on your belly, close your eyes, and stay here for a few breaths. So when you inhale deeply, and exhale, tighten your belly button down. Think of you pushing your lower back down to the floor. And then inhale. And exhale, squeezing your belly down. So if you remember this, we are doing the Uddiyana Bandha, the energy lock in your stomach. Inhale, release your stomach, let your belly loose. And exhale, tighten your belly toward your spine. Let's inhale. The next time you exhale, not only lock your stomach, but also lock your pelvic floor. So squeeze your pelvic floor up, locking 2 locks at the same time. And then let go, inhale, relax in your belly. And exhale, squeeze your stomach in first and then lock in your pelvic floor. And then release. So you really feel like you are rounded on the floor and your spine is pressing down to the floor very much. And release. Try this lock several times. Maybe you can hold in each time you do it. See how long you can hold these locks. And then come back to your normal breath. So don't do the lock anymore. Inhale and exhale naturally. And now let's slowly open your eyes and let's come closer to the wall so your head will be touching the wall. Interlace your finger, so just like the arm that we're going to do in headstand, and bring your hands underneath your head. So your head will be on your hands. And then let's put your elbows onto the wall. Okay, so now you are very much like in a headstand pose. But it's only that you are laying on the floor instead of being vertical from the floor. Now think of the world as the floor. So you're going to press your elbows down to the floor this much. Don't let go of your elbows from the floor because that will be when you fall. So your elbows act like the frames that stop you from falling back. Squeezing, pushing your elbows toward the wall, which will mean the floor later when you do rear headstand. And then see if your shoulders are crossing into your neck and going toward your ears. Bring your shoulders away from your ears. So bring your elbows toward the wall and bring your shoulders away from the wall. 2 opposite action here. And now let's lift your knees up, lift your legs off the floor and tuck your knees toward your chest and still keep your hips on the floor. So this will be what you look like when you tuck your legs up into a headstand on the floor, and then slowly straighten your legs, but without releasing your elbows. So always pushing your elbows down into the wall, straighten your legs, and then bend your knees again, and then straighten your legs again. Think of bringing your feet further and further away, but still pressing your arms into the wall, and then bend your knees. Slowly straighten your legs. This will be how you look like in a headstand, pressing your elbows down. If you want to try to be straighter, you can lower your legs, but still keep pressing your elbows toward the wall. Don't lose it. And then come back. Let's do this for 2 more times. So slowly straighten your legs. Check your shoulders, make sure that your neck is long. If you want to be straighter, always pressing your elbows down toward the wall and down toward the wall. And slowly come back. One last time. Press your elbows down and slowly straighten your legs. Oh, and slowly come back. Relax in your arms and put your arms to the side. Whew. You can shake your shoulder and shake your arms and your hands on the floor. So that will be the feeling you get when you do the headstand on the floor. Actually, you're not standing on your head, you will be standing on your arms and your shoulder joints. Do you feel it in your shoulders? Okay, and then let's slowly get out of this pose. Turn yourself to one side and slowly come up into table pose. So hands down to the floor and knees down to the floor and table. Inhale, cow pose, and exhale, cat pose. 2 more rounds. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. 1 more time, cow and cat. And then we go back into table pose. Keep your arms on the floor and then step your feet back into plank pose. From plank, inhale and exhale, bring your shoulders forward and bend your elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra pose, and exhale, downward facing dog. Look between your hands. You can step your feet on and off the floor. And then let's step your feet forward toward your hands position. Inhale, halfway up, and exhale, forward bend. And then stand up, bring your arms over your head as you inhale. And exhale, hands in front of your heart. Keep your eyes closed and stay in Tadasana, the mountain pose, for a few breaths before we do the sun salutation. So let's start the sun salutation with the chair pose. Keep your feet parallel to each other on the front of your mat. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, forward bend. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward bend. Stand with your left leg and bend your right knee and bring your right foot up. Point your toes and tuck your knees toward your chest. And then step your right foot back, a long step, high lunge pose. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. And exhale, hands down to the floor. And we're going to do the same. Try to tuck your front knee toward your chest. Press your hands to the floor so much that you can pick your front foot up into mountain climber and send it back into plank pose. From plank, bring your knees down to the floor and try to bring both of your elbows down to the floor at the same time. interlace your finger and press them down to the floor. So now your arms look like a triangle. Hug your elbows in and step your feet back into low plank. Let's stay in low plank for a while and bring your hips as low as your shoulders. Take a deep inhale and exhale. In low plank, your elbows will tend to go out away from each other, but you will try to hug them in and in toward each other. And then let's slowly release your hands, put your hands on the floor. You can try to walk closer and press through your hands to go to high plank, or you can bring your knees down to the floor and then go to high plank. So push through your hands and lift your elbows off the floor, and then downward facing dog. Stay here in down dog for a while. Lift your hips up high and take some breath. Check in with your hands, make sure that they're always pressing down to the floor. And then let's bend your right knee and tuck your right knee toward your chest. Squeeze your heel up to your buttock, point your toes up to the sky, and really feel how your thighs are touching into your belly. And then let's lift your knees up and up, only your knee. So your toe is still pointing to your buttock, and then straighten your leg up to the ceiling. Inhale, down dog split, and exhale, bend your knees again. Bring your knee forward, and step your right foot forward into high lunge pose. So inhale, bring your arms up, and exhale, hands down toward the floor. Now stand with only your right leg. Bring your back leg off the floor and tuck your knees toward your chest. Point your toes up high. And then step your foot down to the floor. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, stand up straight. Bring your hands down to the side of your body. And take a small break before we do exactly the same on the other side. So remember the tuck. You would really want to squeeze your thighs toward your chest. And when you are ready, let's do the other side. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, forward bend. Feel your belly touching your thighs already. Stand only on your right leg and bring your left leg up. And really squeeze your left knee toward your chest. And then step a long step back into high lunge pose. Inhale, high lunge. And exhale, hands down to the floor. Put your hands in front of your right foot. Prepare your hands in plank pose and squeeze your front knees toward your chest so much that you can bring your front foot off the floor, point that toes and send the foot back into plank pose. Now let's go to low plank. So try to bend your elbows and bring them down to the floor at the same time. Maybe you can walk back a little bit and then hold your hands. Low plank here. Now keep your hip as low as your shoulders. Check in with your shoulder, don't be short in your neck. So bring your shoulders away from your ears to have long neck here. Inhale and exhale, bring your hips to the side. Inhale, center, and exhale, hip to the other side. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale and exhale, bring your hips to the left side. Inhale, center, and exhale, right side. Okay, left, center, right, center, left, center, right, and center, left, center, right, center, and left, center. Whew. And then let's lay down to the floor. Sphinx pose. Keep your hands, keep your arms, forearms parallel to each other and as wide as your shoulders. You can close your eyes and think of how you're pushing your chest forward and you try to bring your arms back, but you don't actually do that. So there's a pulling force in your arms, pulling back and back. And then slowly get out of this pose. So hands next to your chest, slowly push up into plank pose and then downward facing dog. Walk your hands on and walk your heels on off the floor in down dog. And find a perfect distance for your feet and your hands so that you will be stable in down dog. Check in with your hands, make sure that they're always flat on the floor. Then let's lift your left knee into your chest and really squeeze your thighs into your chest. Point your left toes, squeeze your left heel up to your buttock. You're going to raise your leg up, but we start with your knee. So don't unfold your knee, simply lift your knees up high. So now your heel is still sticking toward your buttock, and once you find your maximum lift, you can open your knees too into down dog split. Then we will fold your knees again and then fold in your hips. So you bring your knee back to your chest, move forward and step your left foot forward. High lunge pose, inhale. And exhale, bring your hands down to the floor. We stand with your left leg. Bring your right knee close to your chest and point your right toes up to the sky. So you're folding very much in your hips and in your knees. Your heels want to touch your buttock, and then step your right foot down to the floor. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, stand up straight and bring your hands to the side. Close your eyes and take a few breaths in Tadasana, the mountain pose. And now let's bring your arms in front of you and inhale here. When you exhale, stand only on your left leg and bring your right leg up. Try to touch your knee into your arms and squeeze your legs toward your chest. Point your toes and try to touch your knee to your arms. And then let's step your leg back, a long step, high lunge pose as you inhale. Let's try to do that again, so be really stable with your standing leg. And bring your knee toward your arm and slowly send your foot back. One more time, bring your arms in front of you. Bring your knee very close to your arms, try to touch. And then send your foot back into high lunge. Let's hold your hands into your hips, straighten your front leg, bring your back foot down to the floor, pyramid pose. Inhale, up your spine, and exhale, squeeze your belly in as you bring your belly lower and lower to parallel to the floor. Let's bring your arms over your head and stay here in pyramid pose. It's strengthening now more than stretching. Try to hug your belly up and keep breathing. You can bend your front knee slightly. And then let's bring your hands down to the floor. So now find the blocks to hold into your hands and walk the blocks back, maybe between your feet. Turn your hands, so now you're holding the blocks with your finger pointing back. Try to stick your belly down to your thighs. It's fine if you bend in your knee and squeeze your toes toward the floor very much. And try to see if you can lift your back heel up without changing the shape of the pose. Only your back toes on the floor. Squeeze your belly up and up. Lock your stomach, energy lock. Exhale, squeeze your belly up. And maybe you can lift your legs off the floor and squeeze your knee toward your chest. And send your leg back. Walk your blocks to the side. Point your toes to the right side of the room. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, forward bend. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, forward bend. And then inhale halfway up. And exhale, this time let's interlace your finger. You can put your hands, arms on the blocks, or if possible on the floor. So I'm going to do on the blocks, but if you can, do it on the floor. And now press your arms down to the block or the floor so much that you can lift your heels off the floor and you feel much more on your arms than on your feet. And then stand on your feet again. Move yourself forward, be much more on your arms. And still try to bring your shoulders up so your neck is still long. And slowly come back. For one more time. Push your hands, push your arms down. Lift your heels up. And then slowly come back. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, bring the blocks back to the front of your mat. Move the blocks to the side. Press your hands down to the floor. Mountain climber, tuck your front thighs toward your chest. Squeeze your foot up and send it back into plank pose. And from plank, low plank. So you can move your hands forward and then bring both elbows down to the floor at the same time and holding into your hands. So check in with your elbows. Make sure that you are making a triangle shape here and not being too wide apart. Walk your feet a bit closer. Bend your knees and push your shoulders back and back into a dolphin pose. Now we're going to do dolphin to low plank. So inhale here in dolphin and exhale, move your shoulder forward. It's like you want to kiss your fingers and slowly come back. Inhale and exhale plank. Inhale dolphin. Really feel how your shoulder move forward and backward. And exhale low plank. Inhale dolphin and exhale low plank. Try to do it 2 more times and try to hug your elbows in all the time. Don't point your elbows out at all. Inhale one last time dolphin and exhale low plank. And you can bring your knees down to the floor and lay down to the floor. Sphinx pose. Whew. Try to bring your shoulders down and raise your neck up so your neck will become long. Pull your shoulders behind you and show your chest between your arms. Whew. And then slowly open your eyes. Let's walk your hands back. Slowly push into plank pose. And then into downward facing dog. Whew. So inhale, raise your right leg. Lift your right leg off the floor and squeeze your right knee toward your chest. Point your toes. And from here, let's open only your knee. And from here, extend your hips. So only raise your knee up. Don't change anything in your knee. Your knee is still bending very much. And once you have raised your knee to the highest peak, you can extend your knee too. So you straighten your knee. So let's try that to come back. Bend your knee first and then put your knee to your chest. Move your whole body forward so that your knee can touch your right arm. And then step your foot down to the floor. High lunge pose. As you inhale, bring your arms over your head. And exhale, bring your hands down to the floor. Hold the floor with your fingertips, or if it's too far away from you, let's hold the blocks. So stand with your front leg and bring your left knee toward your chest. Point your left toes up to the sky. We're going to do standing split, but at first don't change anything in your knee, just open at your hip. So you unfold part by part. And once you think you cannot raise your knee up any higher, you can open your knee too. Standing split. And we're going to get out the same way you get in. So bend your knees first. And then fold at your hips. Put your knee back to your chest. And then step your foot down to the floor. Chair pose. Inhale. And exhale. Hands in front of your heart or to the side of your body. Close your eyes. Tadasana, the mountain pose. Calm down with your breath. And once you feel like your body has cooled down and your heart is beating slowly, let's slowly open your eyes. Take a deep inhale, and when you exhale, bring your arms in front of you and lift your left knee up. Try to touch your left knee to your arm. So point your toes a lot and try to squeeze your heels toward your buttock. And step back into high lunge. Inhale. 2 more times like that. Exhale, hands in front of you. Bring your knee up and try to touch. And then inhale, high lunge. So exhale, bring your knee up and up to touch your chest. And then step your leg back into high lunge. Inhale in high lunge and exhale, holding your hands at your hips. Make sure your hip is square. Step your back foot down to the floor. Pyramid pose. So inhale, tilt your tailbone up. And exhale, squeeze your belly in as you lower your belly. And bring your arms over your head. You can bend slightly in your front knee so that it's not too much of a stretch for today. It's more like a strength. Hug your belly in. for one more breath. And then let's bring your hands down to the floor and find your blocks. Bring the blocks to the middle line, middle point between your feet, and turn your finger back. So now you're holding the blocks with your finger pointing back. Now you can still bend your front knee, but let's squeeze your belly so much that now your belly is sticking to your thighs. Think of your belly sticking into your thighs and tucking up and up all the time. And then you can lift your back heel up, bend your back knee, so you are not standing on your back leg so much. Push into your hands and squeeze in with your belly, and maybe you can lift your back leg up and squeeze your toes toward your buttock and tuck your knee toward your chest, and then let's step back again. Move the block to the left side for the forward bend. Point your toes inward a little bit, and then inhale halfway up. Exhale, forward bend. 2 more times, inhale halfway up, and exhale, forward bend. So every time you fold, try to go deeper than you did before. The last time, inhale, and exhale. Now let's bring your forearms onto the blocks, holding your hands to each other or to the floor. So if possible, bring your forearms down to the floor. Maybe you need to go forward a little bit, or you need to bring your feet closer to bring your forearms down to the floor, and stick your elbows down to the floor. Then let's bring your body weight forward into your arms so that you can lift your heels up and then go back. 2 more times like that. Squeeze, push your elbows down to the floor, lift your heels up and back. And one last time. Push your elbows down to the floor, lift your heels up and go back. Wow. And then let's bring your hands down to the front of your mat. Ready to go to mountain climber. So use your belly, squeeze your belly up and up. Bring your front leg up and up from the floor and send it back into plank pose. From plank, low plank, move your hands forward and try to external rotate, and then bring both of your elbows to the floor at the same time, holding your fingertips here. Low plank. Always hugging your elbows in and press your elbows down to the floor. Step your feet a bit closer and push your chest up and back into dolphin pose. So the dolphin kiss for 5 times. Inhale and exhale, kiss into your fingers. Inhale, dolphin. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, dolphin. And exhale, tuck your belly up in low plank. 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. And one last time. Inhale and exhale. And then knees down to the floor and lay down to the floor. Sphinx pose. Bring your forearms down to the floor. You can turn your palms up. You can do relaxing movement with your hands. And then turn your palms back again. Sphinx pose. Try to press your elbows down and raise your chest up. Long neck. And showing your chest between your arms. And then bring your hands back next to your chest and slowly find your way to downward facing dog. So in down dog, we're going to unfold your left leg. We will bend your left knee and your left hip, flex your left hip. So now your left knee is very close to your chest, and point your left toes up toward the sky. And make sure that you try to zip in your belly with your thigh. It's like they're glued together. And then you're going to keep your knee exactly the same, but you extend in your hips. So now you're pointing your knee up and up. When you feel like you cannot point your knee up any further, then you extend your knee too and point your toes up. So to come back, bend your knees again. And then flex at your hips to bring your knee back to your chest. Zip your knee into your belly and then move your whole body forward so that you can touch your left knee to your left arm, and then step your left foot down to the floor into high lunge pose. So inhale, bring your arms over your head in high lunge. And exhale, bring your hands down to the floor, ready for standing split. So you can hold your fingertips on the floor or you can hold the blocks. Stand with your left leg. Bring your right knee from behind and tuck your right knee to your chest. Squeeze your right heel and your right toes toward your buttock. And then raise your right knee up higher and higher until you cannot raise your knee higher. Then you extend your knee. So you point your toes up to the ceiling, standing split. And to get out of this pose, the same way we get in, so bring your heel toward your buttock and then bring your knee toward your chest. Then step your foot down to the floor, chair pose. Inhale deeply and exhale, hands in front of your heart or to the side of your body. Close your eyes and take a break. Mountain pose. So now we're going to do the flow, and we will remember how to open your legs. We start with your hips, so your knee will still be flexed, and then your knee. And when we come back, you fold at your knee first, and then at your hips. So we isolate these two actions and put it in a balancing pose like Warrior 3. So let's put 2 blocks in front of you in case you need them. Your balancing skill is good enough. You don't need to use them, but just in case. Okay, so bring your arms in front of you, inhale, and exhale, bring your right knee up to touch your arms and try to really touch. And stand your foot back. Inhale, bring your arms over your head in high lunge, and exhale, Warrior 3. So you can keep your hands hovering off the floor or you can hold the blocks if you need to. We're going to do this action with your leg for 3 times. So fold at your knee, point your toes, and then fold at your hips and try to touch your arm once. Open your knee up and then extend your knee. Fold at your knee and then fold at your hip too. Try to touch your knee into your chest and then raise your knee up as you extend your hips and then extend your knee. And then bend your knees again and flex your hips again. 3. Try to touch your knee to your chest and bring your leg up and out. Okay. And now step your foot back, a long step into high lunge again. Inhale and exhale. Turn yourself to the side. Bring your hands down to the floor. Maybe you can step your feet a bit further and crawl your arms forward a bit more. So you can bring your forearms down to the floor. And from here, let's do the rocking pose. So when you inhale and exhale, move yourself forward and raise your heels up and up. And slowly come back. Try to push through your elbows. Move your head forward and back. So when you move forward, feel so much weight on your forearms and very little on your legs and back. Now you can put your hands on the floor and bring your hands to the front of your mat again. Let's inhale halfway up and hold your blocks. The pyramid pose that we did before. Put the blocks between your feet and turn your hands back. So now you're holding the blocks with your fingers pointing back. Try to straighten your front leg and push your front toes down to the floor. Squeeze your belly as if you really want to stick your belly to your thighs and bring your hips up and up. You don't want to drop your hips on the floor. Push your hands down to the block and push them away from you and start bending your back knee. Maybe you can lift your back heel up and eventually your back toes up and hug your legs into your chest. Okay, send your leg back and step into plank pose. So you always start from mountain climbing pose and send your foot back. Right, put your hands away from you and bend your elbows so that you land both of your elbows to the floor at the same time. Low plank. From low plank, bring your knees down to the floor. And now we're going to try to bring your head down to the floor. So how do you do with your hands? There's 2 ways. Or one is that you do like this with your hands and you put your head. But 2 is you hold your hand smaller and you don't really put your head inside your hand, but you rather hold the heels of your hand, press it toward your head. So you can try both, but to me I feel this easier to hold. Put your arms on the floor and see a triangle on the floor here. Don't open your elbows too wide and don't allow your elbows to go away from each other. Always hugging them in. Put your head, the top of your head, down to the floor. So again, it's the top of your head. It's not your hairline. It may feel very fine to put your hairline here, but it's not a healthy position for your neck. Really put the top of your head down, so now you can feel your chin tucking to your chest. And then try to press through your arms, press into your elbows very much, that you don't feel like you're pushing your head on the floor at all. Actually, you can still lift your head off the floor, like 1 millimeter off the floor. Okay, so keep this pressing, tuck your toes down to the floor and lift your hips up. Keep your heels really high, lift your knees off the floor and start moving your hips over your head. So move your hip forward and step your feet forward. Stay here while you're still pressing your elbows down to the floor and see if you can still lift your head up 1 millimeter from the floor. As your elbows pressing down, raise your shoulders up so you keep your neck long here. You don't have to go anymore. Just stay here. Squeeze your belly in, tuck your belly in, lock into your belly, and then bring your knees back down to the floor. Child's pose. Make a pillow with your forearms and put your head on top of them. Calm down in your breath. And then find your way into downward facing dog. Take a small break in down dog. Raise your hips up high and push your shoulders up away from your ears so your neck will be long too. And then let's inhale. Lift your right leg up. At first squeeze your right knee toward your chest. Point your toes. And then we will unfold your right leg. Opening at your hip first. And then when your knee go up very high, you can open your knee too. Let's come back the same way you come in. So bend your knee and then bend your hips. Bring your knee toward your chest. Round yourself, move yourself forward so that you can step your foot to your hands position. Inhale, raise your chest up and hold the floor with only your fingertips. And exhale, stand only with your front leg. Bring your knee toward your chest and point your toes up to the ceiling. Let's slowly extend your hip, raise your knee up high. And once you go really high, you cannot go higher, then you can extend your knee too and point your toes all the way up to the sky. And let's get out of this pose, so bend your knee and then flex at your hips. Don't put your foot on the floor yet. Let's move the block away from you and put your hands on the floor. Go into crow pose. So put your left knee on your left armpit and really bring your knee up higher and higher. So maybe you can bring your right knee to your right armpit too and try to squeeze your feet into your buttock. So you're in crow pose. And get out of the pose. Okay, so I'll take a small break here. We will do crow pose again, but today the action we want to do is to really squeeze your heel into your buttock and point your toes up to the sky like this. Doesn't matter if you can fly, you can still have the other leg on the floor. Oh, really tiring. But we will try to hold at least one foot like that. And that will be what we do in tripod headstand and traditional headstand. So you can stand up and take a break in Tadasana, the mountain pose. Wait for your body to calm down and cool down. And then let's open your eyes and prepare your blocks again. We will do the same action, the folding and unfolding in Warrior 3. So let's inhale, bring your arms in front of you, and exhale, lift your left leg up and try to touch your left knee to your left arm. Let's step back into high lunge as you inhale. And exhale, bring your hands down to the block or keep your hands hovering from the floor. Bring your back leg up. So one, bend your knee and bring your knee to touch your left armpit. And then extend your hip first, then extend your knee. Point your toes all the time. Bend your knees, point your toes with your buttock, and then flex your hips. So this is 2. Try to touch your knee to your arm, very close to your chest. And then open your hip and open your knee, always pointing your toes. Close in your knee and then close in your hips. Try to touch. This is 3. And then long step back into high lunge again. And inhale, bring your arms over your head. Stand up and turn yourself to the side. Wide leg forward bend. Point your toes inward a little bit before you go forward bend. Curl your hands forward so that, and maybe bend your knees a little bit so that you can bring your forearms down to the floor. Here you can support something underneath your head. And we're going to put your head on the floor with the top of your head on the floor. Press your elbows down very much and lift your shoulders up, and now your heels already off the floor. You are standing more and more on your arms and less on your feet. Try to bring your hip up higher and forward so your hip will be over your head. You don't have to fly from here at all, but feel more and more on your shoulders and less on your feet. And then slowly get out of this pose. Draw your hands back. Point both of your toes, both of your feet forward and find the blocks again. Keep your hips square. Move the block back and try to straighten your front knee into pyramid pose. So the block should be somewhere between your feet. Press your front toes down to the floor and then hold your hands with your fingers pointing back onto the blocks. Now zip your belly into your thighs and push your hips up more and more. Start lifting your back heel up and then your back toes up. And maybe you can lift your whole back leg up and squeeze your back knee into your chest. Point your toes very much. Push into your hands, really strong with your arms. And then send your leg back. Move the blocks to the side, hands on the floor. Mountain climber first before you go to plank. So squeeze your front knee to your chest, lift your toes off the floor and send it back to plank pose. Walk your feet back so that you can land your elbows down to the floor in low plank and holding your hands. Check in with your arms position. And then let's bring your knees down to the floor and take a break. So walk your knees closer. Pull your shoulders back away from your ears, long neck here, and put your head inside your arms. And from here, let's check. See if you can press through your elbows and lift your head 1 millimeter off the floor. Push your shoulders up and away from your ears too. And then toes down to the floor. Lift your knees off the floor. Keep your heels up high and your knee bend slightly and try to move your hip over your head. So you can step your feet closer and closer and put your hip on top of your head. And you feel that when you feel very heavy on your arms and very light on your toes. When you are here, press into your elbows and lift your shoulders up. And then let's try with your right leg. Bend your right knee and squeeze your right knee to your chest. Squeeze your right heel to your buttock. And keep pushing and pushing. And release. Let's go down to the floor and stay in child's pose. Take a small break before we try exactly the same pose again. But we will lift your left leg up next time. So wait for your breath to slow down and your whole body to calm down. Once you are ready, let's prepare your arms on the floor again. Interlace your finger and put your arms on the floor. Keep your arms pretty close to each other, don't be too far away. And then put the top of your head down to the floor between your arms. Press your elbows down to the floor and lift your shoulders up. See if you can lift your head 1 millimeter off the floor. So in this pose, it's called headstand, but we actually stand mostly on your shoulders. Right, and once you're ready, tuck your toes and lift your knees off the floor. Don't lock your knee, you cannot go any further. Keep your knees bent and step your feet closer. So now you're putting your hips right on the top of your head. It feels very scary as if you were stumbling behind you, but try to push your elbows down to the floor. And then let's bend your left knee. So hug your left knee very close to your chest. Don't raise your left knee up at all. Hug it close and close to your chest, to your face. And point your toes up to the sky. Push more and more your heel toward your buttock. And then let's get out of this pose too. Child's pose. With the pillows. So your head will be as high as your heart. And check in with your head and your neck. See if you have been crossing them on the floor quite a lot. If you feel so, next time, remind yourself of lifting your head only 0.5 millimeter off the floor. And then slowly get out of this pose and go to downward facing dog. Take some few breaths in down dog. Try to lift your shoulders and your hips up as your head going closer and closer toward the floor. So you have long neck and long spine here. And then lift your left leg up. And first bend your left knee and hug your left knee to your chest. And then we bring your left knee up without opening in your knee. Then you extend your knee, point your toes all the time. And to come back, bend from your knee first and then flex your hips. Move forward, bring your left knee to your left arm and then step your foot forward. So hold the floor with your fingertips, inhale halfway up and exhale, standing split. Let's bend your right knee to your chest, raise your right knee up and then straighten your right knee, point your toes. To come back, bend your right knee. Now put your hands on the floor, a little bit forward, ready to crowd pose, bend your elbows a little bit and put your right knee on your right arm. Always squeezing your toes up and up. You can just stay here or you can do full crowd. So both heels will be sticking to your buttock and your toes are pointing up to the sky very much. And then let's go back and take a small break by sitting down to the floor. Cool down. So we are going to try the full headstand and you are going to face the wall. And again, we will not jump or kick into the wall. The wall is here only as a safety net. So you try not to fall into it. But just in case you fall, you have the wall, so you just kick into the wall and come back. Okay, so we'll be very close to it, but we will not use it. So you know the first step into headstand, we just did it before with one leg up. The next step is that you will bring two legs up in the tuck. So you will have two knees close to you like this and your toes together and pointing. You will look like this but upside down. And then you will squeeze your legs together and as if they are glued together. And then you will bring your knee, both of them up first. And then, so you will look like this. You bring your knees up first. And then you open your knees, so your leg will be up straight. Alright, so the same movement, hip extension first. And then straighten your knee into the straight headstand. But you're going to do it with both legs at the same time. So don't try to kick, don't try to jump. We will use your core strength to lift you up. Okay, so and the reason why we don't kick and jump is for what I explained to you before. We don't want to make any unbalanced and unstable movement on our neck, because if you're jumping and you have very good control of your shoulders and you make sure that you're not putting anything on your neck, then it's fine. But now as we start doing headstand, it's very hard to control everything, so you may put your body weight a lot on your neck, and we don't want to jump when we have a lot of weight on the neck, because it's a very tiny joints here and very sensitive. If we for some reason accidentally fall out of the pose, we don't want that to happen at all, because well, that may lead to injury. Okay, so I'm going to prepare my favorite pillow again, but I will not be sticking to the wall. I will be a bit away from it. And don't be too close, because your back will be a bit rounded and you need space. So you need to make sure that your back and your hip will not be blocked by the wall. Don't be scared, because if you fall back, you can always hit the wall. It's right there, and then you go back. So just in case. I will start here like 20 centimeters away from the wall. And I'm going to do this with my hands. Some people do this with your head, but to me, I feel like making a small gap between my hands and put that gap onto the back side of my head here is a much better way to hold my head. So I'm going to put my hands like that. And I will always try to hug my elbows in all the time. So you remember external rotation, where you can use the muscles underneath your arms. And external rotation here means that you're hugging your elbows toward each other. And then put the head on the floor and make sure that it's not your hairline, it's the top of your head. Press into your elbows and make your neck longer by pushing your shoulders up away from your ears. Then tuck your toes and lift your knees up, and don't lock your knee. Bend your knee slightly and tilt your tailbone up. So now your tailbone start being on the top of your head. You walk your feet closer and closer, and always pressing your elbows down. So your elbows work like the frame that stop you from falling. If you feel like you're falling, press your elbows down to the floor. And then I'm going to try with my right leg first. Tuck my right knee to my chest and press the right heel toward the buttock so much that the other leg will follow. And then you squeeze both knees into your chest. Once you are here, lift your knees up first. Always press the elbows down to the floor. And once your knee is up very high, you can straighten your knees too. And when you want to get out of the pose, you can get out quickly by just drop one leg down to the floor and take a break in child's pose. So if you're not sure what to do, you can sit down and watch me doing it, and then you do on your own. So by using your core strength to lift up, it's very hard for you to fall, because you will always fall forward, and it's not dangerous at all to fall forward. The scary thing happens when you fall back or you fall to the side. So if you don't kick, you reduce the chance of falling. So now I'm going to do and lift my left leg up first. If you want to watch me, you can watch me first, and then we will do together. So put the arms on the floor, make your arms look like a triangle, and put the top of your head, which is full of hair, so there's no hairline or no forehead included, on the floor. Keep your eyes open and look at some point, even though it's upside down. But look at a still point so that it keeps you balanced. Lift the heels and lift the knees off the floor, and always press your elbows down to the floor. By pressing your elbows down, you're pushing your shoulders up too, so that your neck will be long. Now step a bit closer and closer. Remember, you only stand on your toes. even only on the top of your toes. And then bend your left knee, point your toes up. Your left knee is now very close to your face. You can see it. And press your heel toward your buttocks so much that the other leg may follow too. So here is a very good headstand. You can start from here and you get out from this pose. Or you can lift both knees up by opening your hips. Don't open from your knee yet. Once your hip go up really high, you can think of opening in your knee, straightening your knee, both of them. Whew. And I got out of the pose. I'm going to take a break in child's pose. So while I take a break, you can do the pose. Try the pose for once or twice. And after doing this pose, I feel so tired on my shoulders because I've been using all the shoulder strength. So all the muscles on my upper back, they're being tired now. Okay. So I will wait for you to do the poses, the headstand. Just listen to your body and do really slowly. So only do the next step when you are sure about the first step. Think of it's like a puzzle or a balancing game when you stack everything on top of each other. First you put your head on the floor, then you try to stack your shoulder on top of your head. And then you stack your spine vertically on top of that. And then your hips on top of that. And then your knee on top of that. And then your ankles and your toes on top of the whole thing. So think of it as a stacking game and try it on your own. You don't need to do the headstand today. Don't expect yourself to do that today. But next time you do it, you already know. You will already know what to do, and you will do it better than this time. And once you are done with it, let's lay down to the floor and take a break in child's pose first. And support your head with something so that your head will be as high as your heart. So once you're done with headstand, let's sit down to the floor. Bring your right hand's fingertips down to the floor and bring your head to the left side. Let's walk your right hand away from you and walk your hand to the back side of you. Ooh. So now stretching you in your neck and in the front of your shoulder. Walk your hand even further and further behind you and pull your head more to the left side. You can turn your face up or turn your face down so that you change the angle of the stretch. Or move gently between face up and face down. And then change sides. So now pull your head to the right side. Put your left fingertips on the floor. Run your fingers away from you and behind you. And then turn your face, look down, and then look up. So that you're stretching different side of the neck. And move your fingers further and further away from you. And then slowly get out of this pose and lay down to the floor. So let's prepare your 2 blocks with you so that you can lay down into fish pose. I will put 1 block on the floor and I will cover it with my pillow so that it will be soft for me. I will hold the block like this with my hands behind me and put it right underneath my upper back. And open my arms to the side. And stay here. So here you can do whatever you want with your legs. You can keep them straight or you can bend them. Or you can do hip opening by bring your feet to touch and open your knees out. Try to relax your shoulders and allow them to sink down toward the floor. Feel how your breath is cooling down. And your chest is opening. Whenever you inhale, you feel the front of your body getting more space. You have been tucking in with your belly very much, tucking and lifting. So now you can relax in your belly. Let your belly loose and expand whenever you inhale. Then let's slowly close your legs. So you can use your hands to support with your thighs and close them to each other. Turn yourself to one side and move the block out of your way so you can lay down to the floor. And as you lay down to the floor, open your arms out like a letter T. Then let's bring both of your knees to the right side. So here you can choose to hook your leg in whatever way you want. Make any shape you like. And open your left arm to the left side and turn your face to the left side in the twist. In this twist, try to keep your shoulders on the floor. And then slowly come back to the center and change side. Do exactly the same thing you did on your right side with your left side. And allow your shoulders to be on the floor. If for some reason your arm is lifted off the floor, let's support a pillow or a block underneath your arm. And then come back to the center, and now you can rest in Savasana pose. Straighten your legs, straighten your arms, and turn your palms to face up. Let's make space for your body. And rest on the floor. When you exhale, allow your shoulders to be down to the floor. And inhale, imagine you are gaining space in the front of your body, letting your belly loose. And when you exhale, just naturally let your belly sinking down toward your spine. Get the feeling on your head, now that you are not pressing it down to the floor anymore, or you are not upside down anymore. Enjoy this time, and knowing that you have done a great benefit to your heart by being upside down. It's like you have the blood circulation inside your own body. And you also gain a lot of core strength and body awareness by knowing what happens when you're upside down. Feel proud of your body and send love and gratitude all over your body. Especially in your gut, in your belly, where you have the powerhouse that is Uddiyana Bandha, your stomach. It's really awesome. It's what lifts your heavy legs up in inversions. So when you inhale, think of you sending love toward your belly and the core strength, the core muscles. And exhale, just let your belly sink gently toward your spine. Keep staying here and take as much rest as you want, but I will slowly get out of this Savasana pose and end the class. So that was your first, maybe your first attempt to headstand, maybe it's not, but we really slow down and you can really feel the strength coming from your belly. So let's see what you did today and remember it and be proud of yourself. It's a complex pose in yoga and we have to be very careful and step by step about it. It's not a fun pose where we can jump or kick into the pose. So we really need to be careful. And next time you will already understand what's happening and you will progress in no time. And I will see you then. Namaste.